Stop scrolling. Stop scrolling. Stop scrolling. Stop scrolling. Stop scrolling.
First name?
Stop scrolling.
Last name?
Stop scrolling.
So you're...
Stop scrolling. Stop scrolling. 6, 7.
Skibbity, we put the rhythm to the tizzle. Skibbity, we put the rhythm to the tizzle. Skibbity, we put the rhythm to the tizzle.
I got one question for the graduating class of 1996. And that's Will!
Hey, Dad, can I have new shoes? Of course, buddy. I have a hole in...
Six, seven. 1,
6, 7.
2,
6, 7. Stop scrolling. What?
Ready to level up your day? Then grab your tickets
to the Super Mario Galaxy movie right now.
Let's go.
The hype is real. My favorite part, right, is when Mario and Luigi...
Buddy, please, come on, don't spoil anything.
6, 7. 1, 2,
6, 7.
3, 4,
6, 7.
5, 6,
6, 7.
7, 8,
6, 7.
9, 10.
6, 7.
Let's talk about the lore behind the most disturbing boss in Pizza Tower. Fake.
Hole in my shoes.
Stop scrolling. Stop scrolling. I am very angry with you.
I got one question for the graduating class. And that's Will!
Only people who are Team Mom will like it.
I'm not Team Mom. I can't really be Team Mom.
Like and subscribe if you're Team Mom.
Yeah!
Subscribe to me, please.